Hey y'all, today I'm going to show you some things that I like to prep during the week if I feel like I need a jump start on some of the meals. Between teaching, being a content creator, and also doing some freelancing work, my schedule is really jam-packed, and there are weeks where I know I'm going to have just a lot going on. My husband is also in graduate school in ministry, and he's also working part-time, so we're both very busy, and I tend to do most of the cooking. This certainly is not everything we would eat during a week, but it does help me to have a couple things in the fridge just on backup. That way we don't have to eat out very much. And I really don't even like eating out like that. I just feel like it doesn't compare to home cooked foods. When I am choosing things to meal prep, I like to choose foods that I like and my husband likes, or I can just swap one or two items in the meal and make it fit both of our palates. I have found that a lot of dishes from Louisiana like gumbo, jambalaya, or okra stew, which is what I am making today, are very much like that, which makes sense because dishes there have a strong influence from Africa as well as other regions, and he is from Africa and I'm a Southern girl, so I feel like the Louisiana dishes are a good combination of both of our preferences. So I'm going to start out by sauteing some bacon until it is nice and crispy, and then I'm going to put in some frozen whole okra. Now I'm not trying to get popped, so I'm just going to put on that lid until the okra defrosts. If you have fresh okra, you can use that too. I like to saute it in the fat to cut down on the amount of mucus that is going to be released from the okra. Once it gets a little toasty, I'm also going to add on a little bit of Creole seasoning or Cajun seasoning of my choice, and then I'm going to remove them and place them to the side. I'm also going to be putting in some Cajun sausage. Now, if you want to make this a little bit healthy, okay, you could use some chicken Cajun sausage, and you could also use turkey bacon, but I ain't using that today, okay? We just going full Piggly Wiggly on it, all right? So I'm going to saute these for about 2 to 3 minutes until they start getting brown. And since my bacon was getting crispy, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to remove it, but I am going to leave that fat. All right. If you have been enjoying this video so far, go ahead and subscribe and click the bell so that you get notified every time I post. I post new meal ideas every single week. And tell me in the comments, are you a meal prepper? Do you like to do that at the same time? If you're not a meal prepper, then let me know what are some things that you do to save time on cooking and planning meals during the week. Or if you are somebody that will spend your last dollar on DoorDash, okay, go ahead and confess in the comments. All right. I am going to add in what is called the Trinity as well as one diced up tomato. I'm only using one stalk of celery because I don't want too much of a celery taste in this dish. I've also left the bell peppers cut really large because when I stew them, I don't want them to break down and get mushy. I want them to have a little bite to them, okay? Once they've sauteed for about 3 minutes, then I'm going to put in a tablespoon of fresh minced garlic, and I'll saute this for about 30 seconds. You will know it's ready when you can just smell that strong garlic flavor. I have mixed up some spices that will basically become a salt-free Cajun seasoning. A little bit of cayenne, smoked paprika, pepper, and dried thyme. I'm also going to add in about 2 tablespoons of my dry roux. I have made this by baking my flour in the oven at 400 until it is nice and brown. But you can also buy dry roux in Walmart. I've seen it sold in stores. I'm then going to crumble in 1 shrimp bouillon cube, but you can also use chicken. I'm going to mix that in and put back in my bacon. 2 cans of stewed tomatoes is a must. You cannot swap out diced tomatoes. It will not taste the same. Okay, so you want to mix this together. Then add in a little bit of water, or if you have some shrimp stock or chicken stock, that would work great too. I'm going to simmer this on low for about 30 minutes until all the flavors start coming together. At this point, you really can go in there and season to taste. If you want your vegetables softer, you can cook it a little longer, but this is perfect for me. All right, then I'm going to put in my okra as well as a little bit of frozen corn, and I am going to put in some frozen sliced okra. I did not toast that okra on purpose because I actually want this okra to thicken up the stew a little bit. by releasing that mucus. Then I am going to cover this up and I am going to allow this to simmer for about 7 minutes, just until that okra defrost and all of the flavors come together really well. Of course, you can season to taste. Now this is going to taste perfect with a little bit of white rice. You could also add some chicken or some shrimp on the side, and baby, you eating. I am also going to be prepping some drumsticks. Now, everyone like a little drumstick, okay? They easy to eat. They got a little fat on them. That skin real nice. I'm going to wash these with some water. Y'all see it's getting cloudy, okay? I know some of y'all don't wash your chicken. I ain't going to even say nothing about that, okay? I'm going to cut off that little yellow part at the end of the chicken leg, and then I am going to drain off all of that excess water. I am using these drumsticks to make some baked Italian dressing chicken. Y'all, this chicken is bomb.com. Like, can I even say that? I mean, maybe that's a little old school, whatever. Okay, I'm not even 30 yet. It's okay. All I'm trying to say is that this chicken is good, okay? So I'm going to dry this chicken off, and then really you can season this chicken with whatever you want. Okay, y'all know I got to go in with a little bit of chicken bouillon. That's like one of my OG seasonings for chicken. And then I'm using this all-purpose seasoning. This one is from Lisa Diesel Lights. I will tag her in the description box, but you can use any all-purpose seasoning that you like. And then, of course, a little bit of lemon pepper. Everyone like a little lemon pepper. And this is my preferred Creole seasoning for this recipe. And this specific brand, Olive Garden Italian dressing, is my favorite Italian dressing, okay? I'm going to mix it on the chicken, and then I'm going to let this marinate for about 30 minutes. Now, this chicken was marinating at the same time I had my stew going, okay? Once it's been 30 minutes, I'm going to put this in my baking dish. Then I'm going to cover it with a piece of foil, and I'm going to bake this at 375 degrees in total for about an hour and a half. I'll cook it covered for about 1 hour and then uncovered for about 30 minutes to brown it. Since I already have the oven going, I am going to go ahead and put in some sweet potatoes as well. I like to put down some parchment paper because you know how sweet potatoes release that sugar and it just gets really sticky in your baking pan. I don't like that, so I like putting parchment paper down. And to help the parchment paper stay, I put a little water on my hands and rubbed it over the paper. And so it became a lot more flexible and it stayed put. Then I am going to rub the sweet potatoes with some olive oil, and I'm just going to stick them in the oven and basically ignore them. All right, I'm just going to let them cook in here until they are done. And child, don't even talk with me about the cleanliness of this oven. Just cash at me $200 so I can get it made up in here. Your girl is tired, okay? While everything is baking in the oven, I'm going to be preparing African man kryptonite, okay? This is the weakness. They cannot resist this one. I'm making jollof rice, and I'm even going to infuse a little beef into it, all right? This is one of my husband's favorite rice dishes. So I'm going to start off by washing the rice, and then I am going to take about a pound of stewed beef, and you can really use any cut of beef here. I'm going to season it very lightly with a little bit of beef bouillon and salt, and that is it. You want to make sure it's very dry because I'm going to be frying it in about 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. The frying process is not only going to brown it, but it's going to give the beef and the rice a really good flavor. You'll see a lot of jollof recipes where the beef might be boiled in a little bit of onion, garlic, and ginger. And you certainly can do that and then fry it. But child, I was doing too much cooking. I wasn't going to do all that, okay? And you know what? My husband did not complain. So after about 6 minutes, my beef is now browned. And then I'm going to add in some onions and a little bit of peppers. And I'm going to stir this together and cook this for about 3 more minutes until the aroma from the onions and the peppers is just so strong. And then I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of my green seasoning and some curry powder. I'm using a hot curry powder, but you can use mild. You want to toast this until the curry is fragrant and my green seasoning cubes have melted. I'm turning the temperature down to about medium low, and then I'm going to add in some water just to get the fond off the bottom of the pan. I'm going to cover and cook this for about 10 minutes until my stew beef is well cooked. If you are using like pieces of steak, you probably only need to cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes, as that will cook pretty quickly. Now I'm going to further season this with some smoked paprika, a little bit of rosemary, and some allspice. I like to add a tablespoon of tomato paste to give it a rich color, and I'm also putting in 1.5 cups of tomato sauce. Now typically you would see the sauce fried for about 20 to 30 minutes. However, I find when you use tomato sauce, that is not needed. Really only about 5 to 7 minutes is good enough. And then I'm going to put in about 2 teaspoons of this beef bouillon. You might be thinking that this stew might be over seasoned or a little bit salty, but remember, you're going to be adding rice, and rice is totally bland. So if the seasoning is just a tad bit too much, that probably means it's going to be perfect. My husband likes a little bit of spice, so I will be adding in some scotch bonnets, and then I'm putting in 2 teaspoons of garlic, and I'm just allowing that to simmer for about 3 minutes so that the garlic can come together. Now, y'all know I'm country, so I had got to put some butter up in there. Okay. And then I'm adding in my 1.5 cups of washed basmati rice. However, jasmine rice is also good. I'm going to turn the temperature to low, and I'm going to let this cook for about 7 minutes so that the rice can start to absorb the stew. Then I'm going to add about 2 1/4 cups of water. You'll have to feel the water out. It's going to depend on how wet or dry your rice is, but 2 1/4 cups was perfect for me. I'm going to mix this together, and then I'm going to finish baking this off in the oven at 375 for about 30 minutes while everything else is just baking away in there. At this point, the chicken has been baking for 1 hour, and it is time for me to just flip it. It is cooked at this point, but y'all, I want this chicken to be tender. Okay, I want it to just melt in my mouth a little bit. All right. And it also needs some color because I don't be messing with no pale meat. So I'm going to flip it. And from this point, I am going to let it cook uncover until it gets the color that I want. My rice has been cooking for 30 minutes, and I'm going to test it to see if it is done. So I'm just going to go in with my spatula, and I'm going to fluff it up. Now, do y'all see that rich color on this rice? All of the grains are just separated and nice, and I thought it was going to need a little bit more time, but indeed, baby, it was ready to go. Okay, now to freshen up the flavor, I'm going to put in some fresh peppers and some fresh onions. That's just going to add a little brightness and a little bit of color to the rice. Tell me, have you ever tried jollof rice before? And if you haven't, would you be willing to try this recipe? Honey, this was so good. And to go with this, he always loves to have boiled eggs. So I am just going to boil about 6 to 7 eggs for 6 minutes. Now, some of mine were cracked a little bit. That's why you're going to see little stringies in the water. But honey, we still ate them, and I just put them in some cool water to cool them off. My chicken is nice and brown, and the juice at the bottom has concentrated to make a little sauce. That's really the best part. It has a little bit of a salty and also a bit of a vinegary taste from that Italian seasoning that is just perfect over some rice or some mashed potatoes, or in my case, I'm going to actually put some of the juice over some vegetables. I don't be chopping, a bunch of extra vegetables for my lunches. I just like to use these frozen vegetables from Costco. I'm going to stick them in my air fryer for about 5 minutes at 350 to defrost them. You could also just stick them in the microwave, but I find that in the air fryer, they come out a bit crunchier. To take them to the next level, I am going to put some butter in my pan, and then, y'all, I'm giving y'all a tip here. Pay attention, okay? You're going to take a little bit of the juice from that chicken. Yeah, take some of those pan drippings from that chicken and add it, and then cook your vegetables in that with just a little pinch of Creole seasoning. Even your children gonna like these, okay? Your hub's gonna like them. You gonna like them. This is definitely my favorite way to make some veggies. These veggies are already pretty much cooked, so you're really just sauteing them for about 2-3 minutes maybe, just so you can get the flavor right. And this is not all the veg I eat during the week. I tend to do this about 2 or 3 more times during the week because I like the veg to be fresh. To go with the jollof rice meals, I'm going to fry a little bit of plantain. I will also fry more plantain for like dinner meals when he'll eat the jollof, just to keep it nice and fresh. So this is not the only time that I cook during the week. On some weeknights, I like to do some 20 or 30-minute meals. So for example, I might do like some tuna salad over like a bed of mixed greens with cucumber and tomato, and then I'll eat the same thing for my lunch the next day. I also like to do air fryer salmon, and then I may add some of the rice that I've already pre-cooked and then do a salad on the side. Something quick, healthy, and easy. What are your go-to quick meals? Tell me below in the comments. As you can see, I am portioning out some of the food. Most of these are going to end up being my husband's lunches. Y'all, when he came in and saw me doing this video, he was like, yes, Jesus does answer prayer, okay? I laughed so hard, and then he started claiming which ones was his. He was like, oh, I know pretty much all of these is mine, but the salads, yeah, that's you. You can have that because you're supposed to be cutting back on them carbs. But I also ate the ones that were the veggie and chicken and had a little bit of the sweet potato on the side. So I had those as well. And then whenever I went to eat these salads, I sometimes heated up the chicken, sometimes I didn't, and then I would just add a little bit more of the Italian dressing to the greens. These meals definitely last in the fridge about 5 days. Let me know if you are going to try any of these recipes or what you like to meal prep just to get a jump start on the week. All of the leftover food I just put in the back in some large containers. You guys know that I love you and Jesus loves you. And I'm going to see you next time on Kamira's Kitchen. Goodbye and God bless.